Coffee. You either run on the stuff or can't even bear the smell of it. While not the #1 beverage in the world, we Brits win that one with tea. Well, if you ignore water anyway, it's easy to see just how popular coffee is. But perhaps you don't call it coffee. Maybe you choose to call it after one of its many nicknames. Before we go into nickname explain, however, let's just talk about the original name. Coffee. The word coffee is basically history's game of Chinese whispers. We start at the Arabic word kawa, a word that originally referred to a type of Arabian wine. The noun kawa is believed to derive from the verb kaha, which means to lack hunger, which fits as both wine and coffee are known to suppress appetite. Kawa then tumbled through history from language to language, getting altered with each lexicon. The Turkish borrowed the name and made it into their own word, kavi. Then the Dutch borrowed the word and turned it into coffee. Finally, the word entered the English language, being borrowed from the Dutch as coffee. Yet, any coffee connoisseur will tell you there's more to coffee than just coffee. Lattes, cappuccinos, espressos, just to name a few. But where do all these names come from? Italy. It's hard to talk about coffee and not mention the Italians. Latte is short for cafe latte, which in Italian means milk coffee, as milk in Italian is latte. So if you order a latte in Italy, there's a big likelihood you may end up with a glass of milk. Cappuccinos, however, have a more divine explanation. A group of monks called the Capuchin Friars is where the drink gets its name. Their robes were a unique shade of brown that became known as cappuccino. People even think that these monks look like the coffee, with their robes being the liquid and their hair being the foamed milk on top. Espresso's name, however, is something of a misconception. While people think the name comes from espressos, being small portions you drink in a short express-like manner, you'd think that's where the name comes from. But remember, it's espresso, not espresso, and the part of the name we should be focusing on is the press part, which relates to the way espresso is made as the boiling water is pressed through the ground beans at high pressure to create the caffeine shot. Coffee that's just ground beans with boiled water, however, is just called coffee. And no, it isn't an Americano as I thought going into this video. A black coffee is mug, ground beans and hot water. An Americano is an espresso with added hot water. The more you know. Though black coffee lacks a fancy Italian name, it has a handful of nicknames. One such as mud and dirt, which are just ill. Another nickname for coffee is of course Java. While Java coffee is actually a specific type of coffee, around the world Java refers to coffee in general. This is because the coffee beans grown on the island of Java in Indonesia are traded throughout the world. The #1 nickname for coffee is of course a cup of Joe. The real question is, who's Joe and why is he in my cup of coffee? Well, Joseph Daniels was the Secretary of the US Navy during World War I, and on the 1st of June 1914, Joseph banned alcohol on US ships. This led to sailors purchasing and drinking more coffee and coming to begrudgingly call it a cup of Joe. A charming story, if it were true. The first recorded use of this term in the English language is from 1930, so the term being coined in 1914 and no one recording it for 16 years seems really unlikely. A more likely scenario is it being two other names for coffee combined, Java and Jamoke. Jamoke in turn also being a combination of two names for coffee, Java and Mocha. Names, not even once. But my personal favourite theory on the name is its relation to the term average Joe. An average Joe is anyone, the average person, the common man, meaning that despite coffee gaining this snobby and connoisseur demeanour, a cup of Joe will always be the drink for the common man. So hold your cup high, whether it's your first in the morning or fourth into an all-nighter, and say, actually, hold that thought, I need to go to the bathroom.